What's up, summoners? Kungblade here. Today we're going to be talking about why you should build your Wyvern 11 team first, why doing Wyvern b11 is so important compared to all other PvE content in the game, and why I think it should be the very first PvE content that you're trying to shoot for the highest. So I was thinking about this after Ottoman Tower came out, and I've been really close and struggling with the BIS 90, just suffering through it. And I started thinking, how did I get this far, and what pushed me to become a better player? So what that was actually building a proper Wyvern b11 team that's able to clear it really easily and very consistently. So this is the team I use. I think it has like a 95% success rate. Very few times it fails. It's whenever, for some reason, the Wyvern creates a ton and my Dizzy misses all her debuffs, which is very rare. But it still does happen to fail, but you still want to get a team that can get to that point. I know I talked about before what's important in a team and what you should look for, but why do I think Wyvern b11 out of all the other content should be the first thing you look at? So there's going to be two talking points that I'm going to cover. So the first one is going to be, the practical one, the sets it gives you compared to all the other hunts, and why that it's so important, such a good... Like, it gives you the best sets overall. And, like, why is that? And last but not least, just overall, like, the mentality that it makes you think about the game and the units that it opens up for you. Because water units, guys, OP. Water units in this game are probably, like, the most supported in the game. So, when we look at Wyvern, we see here that, the sets that Wyvern gives you are going to be that critical set. So that's your attackers, your accuracy set, which is typically goes for your debuffers, and the speed set, who goes to literally almost every single unit in this game, because most gacha games, like this one that have like combat readiness and things like that, typically speed is king. And that's something that, while you may hate it, it's also the fact that's like you kind of have to deal with it. It's just something that is part of the game. And it's just something that you have to have a good speed set and someone that's really fast, like your core units, if you want to have any chance to compete in PvP. And recently with Ottoman Tower, I noticed for PvE too, and like later stages of Abyss, man, like having the right speed makes it so much easier to build a team. So let's compare it to other ones. So for example, Golem, attack. Yeah, there's some good units that just attack, but usually it's like you are going to have a very specific team and a very specific unit that needs attack. Baiken is one of the ones at the top of my head. Luna is another one that very much benefits. Anyone that has bleed effects, Sigrid would benefit a lot from this attack set. But for the most part, not as many attack. Like, there's that argument whether attack or crit damage is better, but that's the main one. Then there's a health set, which most of your healers, you are going to want to give them like a health set as their secondary, but typically that's not always the case, because that's more for PvE. If you're trying to get into PvP, health set you will rarely ever use, and for PvP again you will rarely ever use. Same with defense set. It's not practical. It's still good, and it's for PvE it's very important to have a lot of these sets. Like health and defense are very good to like supplement your main core, and then attack is, you can usually change it for something else. So there's not really anything that's like super good about Golem. Honestly, personally, like, I just think Golem is the worst one, which is why you see me, like, I haven't even cleared it. I haven't even attempted it or tried to build a team for it, just because I just have no interest in the gear I get from Golem. And I feel like we get so many attack sets, especially from the Arena Season 2. Like, it's just not worth it for me. There's better sets I'd rather give my units. Then there's Banshee, which is one that that's the next one I've been focusing a lot more to be able to consistently clear B11. But again, the sets here are like, while they are really strong, you get them from other sources, which is not, I can't say the same for the speed sets. So for this one, you have the resist set, which right now this is probably the second most important one to do. Resist set is very important, and it does supplement a lot, especially for your going second teams, which are starting to become more prevalent, or even for your going first teams. If you feel like you're gonna get cut, it's really good to have a resist set. Destruction set is the golden standard usually for what an attack unit should be for PvE, for PvP. For PvE, it's usually not. Then the lifesteal set, it's kind of like, it's fallen off a lot actually. And you also get one of the most busted lifesteal sets from just clearing Abyss. So it almost feels like lifesteal is like, counter set. Very few units actually use the counter set, and it's just very niche. It's not something you will often see, and it's a set that also you can get it from you can get it from like the raids and stuff. But again, it's very niche. If you do need the set, it's really good. Banshee's still really good, don't get me wrong, but it's not the same as Dragon. Like if you think of the sets of Dragon, it's like everything needs what Dragon gives. For this, is more niche. It's more like rounding out your units, giving you that extra push, but it's not your core that you're gonna be mostly grinding for. And last but not least, we got Asimic Hunt. I have zero interest right now because you literally get this equipment from Abyss, and I just have no interest in doing it. Like the Unity set is like, okay, maybe one unit will have Unity, and even then, like the benefit of it is kind of bad. Like most of the time, Unity set is kind of garbage. Like you typically don't need Unity set on a lot of your units. Then there's the immunity set, which is actually probably the strong one because a lot of your units have to start getting immunity, especially if you're not going for the resist build. If you're trying to go for the resist build, that's why immunity is like, it's nice to have, but you can also get it from Abyss. So it's like, you don't have to prioritize this. And I haven't, and I've been doing pretty fine. I've cleared all the endgame content besides Ottoman Tower, which I'm still going through. And then the rage set, oh, there's only like 2 units that use this. Like right now, off the top of my head, the units I've given this to are Challenger Dominiel, and I took it off of her because it wasn't as consistent for PvP. And then my Spectre Tenebria, who just makes sense to give it to her because she just goes nuts with it. But very few units, again. But then when you look at Wyvern, like, okay, crit rate, critical set. Literally any unit in the game that's an attack dealer is going to need that critical set. Anyone, no matter if you're doing attack or crit damage or whatever, you need to have a solid crit set, and Wyvern provides that for you. The hit set, if you have any debuffer, if you have a Dizzy, you most likely have a hit set on her, or if you have a pendant like I do that gives her hit, because it's just so important for you to land your debuffs, especially for PvE, where you just like really hit set is probably one of the strongest PvE sets for debuffer. And even for some PvP units that are very fast, that you build very fast. And then the speed set, again, I told you guys, speed is king. Most of my units are on a speed set, with the exception of a very few. Like all my support units are on speed set. All the units I want to go first, I slap on a speed set. All the units that I want to make sure that they do what they need to do first, I give them a speed set. Whenever I'm in doubt, speed set. It's just the strongest set in the game as of right now. I don't think there's a stronger set for PvP like speed and resist on your support units is so important. Like, what are you gonna do? You need to be fast in arena, and I like PvP a lot, so I need the speed set. So overall, Wyvern just gives you the most for the investment you put in terms of the equipment sets. It's not niche. It's not something that's like, oh, I may use this in the future. Like every once in a while, I'll get like a really good counter set, but I know I'm not gonna use it for a very long time from Banshee. But now, what are the benefits of just doing it because of the team? So, as I mentioned before, water is broken right now. Like water is probably the best and most supported attribute. Like Smiley knows that Wyvern is super important, and I feel like they low-key give Wyvern worse like drops. I don't know why. I just feel like they do. But overall, just all the units that you use for this are good in the game. So for healer, a really good healer is Angelica. And Angelica also is good for every other content in the game. She's good for Arena. She's good for Guild Wars. She's good for Abyss. She's good everywhere. Like, she's just a solid unit. And having to invest in her to be able to use her for Wyvern at the beginning of, like, once you start the game, being one of your first few 6-stars, you're already investing towards that Wyvern B11 team and to the rest of your gameplay, because you're going to be using Angelica everywhere. If you just joined with Dizzy's another unit that literally is used everywhere. PvP, Abyss, Ottoman Tower, like everywhere. Like literally you can slap Dizzy anywhere and she makes your team more consistent for almost all content in the game. So again, we have a very strong water unit that it's typically a very core unit for a Wyvern B11 team. Then you have Luna, which I know some people are going to be like, oh, I don't have a Luna. But if you do, again, if you are building towards this B11 team and you have a Luna, super, super solid unit. It's just you're gonna use her everywhere. She's gonna be your main damage dealer, and a lot of the content is fire. There's not a lot of content that's actually grass, which is something that I've noticed, and I haven't struggled because I mostly have really strong water units. There's other units that I'm gonna go in the journal for that they're just good units for the game, for all content in the game, and they're just very strong, like overall. No, most notably, Luluka. More recently, she's super good for Wyvern, and she's super good for everywhere else on the game. You have someone that does decreased defense. You have the blessing, so your tank doesn't die, and you have the first hit that just does damage. Like, it's just, she's good for PvP. She's good for setting up. I know for the people that most people don't have her, I don't have her myself. But Diani, again, a very, very solid unit. Really good for Wyvern B11. If you build her for your Wyvern team, you're already clearing other content just because you have a Diani. Like, I could go on for hours talking about all the different broken water units that are also good for just overall the game. The other one would be Crawl. God, this unit's insane. Just everywhere. Just the best. Probably below Crimson Armin, he's the next best tank. Crimson Armin is still the golden standard for a tank, and then Crawl is right there as a second because he just does so much for your team. And if you have a Crawl built for Wyvern, you have a solid tank for the rest of the game. Like, I don't know if you guys see where I'm getting at, but all water units that you're building for Wyvern B11 are also really good for all other content in the game. So Wyvern is just such an important part of the game that honestly, if you have a Wyvern B11 team, you can clear all of this. Like y'all saw, I don't have all these other ones built. I'm decently high in arena. You know, I'm not super broken, but I don't have the best sets. I'm not lucky with my pools in Wyvern. That's why I'm farming it all the time. But you know, I consistently am getting Challenger 4, Challenger 3. It's not terrible. I get 615 gems a week. So that's really solid. It's just helping me out a lot, and it just grinds towards my game, and it makes it so I always can summon more, get more artifacts, do more things, get more energy. I've never had an energy problem. It's just something that I never have run across, and just being able to do Wyvern got me to this point. Abyss, all the units I use in my Abyss team, I used to use in my Abyss team, had a speed set on them. So right now I've switched to this team, but I don't like it as much. But I used to have I did like my normal team. I think I have it in one of these saved. But my normal Abyss team is not it's this one. This used to be my Abyss team. And guess what? The only unit that doesn't have a speed set, or all the units have a Wyvern set. Destina has a speed set, and I think she has like a broken set. My Bellana has a speed set. My Crimson Armin has a speed set. And then my Crimson or Challenger Dami is the only one that had like a destruction set for the longest time. And this team got me all through both Hell and normal Abyss. And then a bit like regular Abyss, again, it's like I pretty much use the same team and just switch a couple units here and there. And I'm almost done with this floor. Now, this floor I have to switch my Luna, but all of this, and I still haven't even had a Golem B11 team, a Banshee B11 team, or an Asimanak, however you call this guy, team. All I had is a really solid Wyvern team, and I've been able to do all the content just because of that. So again, I cannot stress this enough to you guys. Y'all need to clear Wyvern B11. If you're starting off the game, you need to take a good long look at your units and can I use them in Wyvern B11? If the answer is no, then you have to think, is this really adding a lot to my gameplay experience? There's very few units I would say yes, like even though they're not good for Wyvern, they're really good everywhere else. So again, guys, really, really, really what I want you to take away from this, Wyvern OP, build your Wyvern team now. If you haven't, if you're starting off the game, start thinking about what you're gonna build for your Wyvern team and units that like strong water units that you get to this point. Yes, you shouldn't ignore arena, and you shouldn't just solely focus your resources on just water, but just know that if you're building towards this type of team, you're building towards most of the content in this game. So that is all I have for you guys today. I hope y'all enjoyed, and I will see y'all next time. Peace.